Hello everyone, Benji-Sales here, and it has done it. The Super Mario movie has passed $1 billion at the global box office. An absolutely incredible result for both Nintendo and Illumination. I was telling you guys after I saw that opening weekend that $1 billion was a lock. There was a few people that were still doubting, even after that colossal opening weekend worldwide, but I could see very clearly there's no way with that box office opening being so big, as well as that A cinema score, an incredible audience Rotten Tomatoes score that was coming in. $1 billion was a lock, and it is now officially done it, and it ain't stopping anytime soon, guys. The drops for this thing are absolutely incredible. So there's a couple things we're going to talk about today. I got a few slides to show you to break down some of the numbers that we're seeing on the Mario movie, and then I'm also going to ask the question, what is next for Nintendo? Because there's no way that you have this sort of financial success and you just stop there, right? We've also had Miyamoto already confirm that Nintendo's going to plan on doing some more movies. Should some of them maybe even be live action? Well, we'll talk about it, guys. We'll talk about it here. So a couple things off of the top. Here's the first slide for you. Universal officially projects the Super Mario Brothers movie is going to cross $1 billion. This was a tweet that I sent out yesterday, but it has now officially done it. A couple records for you that this means. It's the biggest video game movie of all time. No movies ever even come close in video games to $1 billion, so that also makes it the first video game movie ever to hit $1 billion. It's the biggest movie of 2023 to date. That's right, not just animated. It's the biggest of any film that has come out so far in 2023, and who knows? With the way this thing's going, it may end up being the biggest of any movie for the entire year. We'll just have to see how some of the other movies this year perform, but it wouldn't shock me to see that come in. It's also the biggest animated movie since 2019. So no movie post-pandemic that's animated has hit $1 billion. Illumination's other movie, the Minions film, almost did, Rise of Gru, but it didn't quite get there. So this is the first animated movie since before the pandemic to hit $1 billion. A couple other things for you really quick. Here's a breakdown of exactly what it did this weekend domestically, coming here from Luis Fernando. It also beat Frozen 2 and Finding Dory's total box office run already domestically. It has now become the second highest grossing animation movie of all time at the US box office. That's right, already, and its run's not even over. The only one that has grossed more domestically is The Incredibles 2, and it's on its heels. It has a very good chance, in my opinion, of passing it total domestic. So it could go on to become the biggest animated film of all time at the domestic box office. And that drop represents only 33.2%, 40 million for 3-day weekend, which is also the biggest ever for an animated film. So like I said, the legs on this thing are just absolutely incredible. For a final breakdown of exactly what this represents, you know, the exact totals domestic, international, and globally, here's a box office report. The estimated totals, keep in mind this is an estimate. It's going to fluctuate a little bit because studios always drop the weekend numbers on Sunday morning because they've been running these for so very, very long, these projections. They usually come in extremely close. If anything, things will move a little bit here or there, could go up a tiny bit, could go down a little bit, but it's not going to be any sort of major adjustment. So here's the estimated totals as of this weekend. Domestic comes in at 487.5 million, international 533 million, and that represents a global total of 1.021 billion. Absolutely incredible. This thing has a very good chance, in my opinion, of becoming the highest grossing animated movie of all time worldwide. We'll just have to see. The Japan opening was very, very nice for it. Japan's a box office that's all about legs. They're not really known for colossal opening weekends. It's really a market that just keeps having legs and legs and legs. And word of mouth in Japan is extremely strong. It just launched in Japan this weekend, just launched in South Korea this weekend. And as we're seeing, the domestic legs and even international legs are incredible. So guys, it won't shock me if we see this thing get to a 1.4, 1.5 billion total, which is absolutely crazy. We'll have to see. Don't lock that in yet, but it's going to clear $1 billion by quite a bit, right? It's not going to be just slightly over $1 billion. This thing still has hundreds of millions in the legs. So we'll see where it finishes out, but absolutely incredible. So as I noted off the top, The next question is, what is next, right? There's no way that Nintendo wants to stop with this, and there's no way that Illumination and Universal are going to want to stop with this. They're going to want to cash in. So I have a couple ideas for what I think they could and maybe should do next. Some of these might sound like a surprise. Some of these I'm sure you all see as locks as well. Let's dive into them. Well, first of all, of course, the most obvious, Super Mario Brothers Movie 2. This is an absolute lock. This is going to be announced very, very shortly. There's 0% chance this does not happen. Absolutely zero. Of course, they're going to get the cast to return. Clearly, Yoshi, I think, is going to come be a big part of the second movie. It's just a lock. This is one we don't even really need to theorize about. We don't really need to be like, is it a 50-50 chance? It's a lock. Super Mario Brothers Movie 2. Expect that announcement sometime soon. Clearly, this thing is not going to have a trailer or anything for quite a while. It's not going to come out for years, but I suspect Illumination is going to want to get on that ball very, very quickly because animated movies take quite a while to make. And also, Super Mario Brothers Movie 2 obviously will be an animated film. Now, the next one that I think has a good chance of happening might not be the most exciting, but it just makes a lot of sense to me, and this is the one. Donkey Kong Country. They don't need to call it Donkey Kong Country. They can call it whatever they want, but Donkey Kong plays a huge part in the Super Mario Brothers movie. He seems to be well liked. The Kongs, they've already done so much work, so much animation work, so much getting the designs down. Donkey and Diddy going on an adventure together. I mean, what's to not like here? This is also another one that Illumination could do. So, because some of these other movies I have ideas for aren't going to be Illumination. I think Illumination is going to want more than just a Super Mario Brothers sequel to try and squeeze out some financial gains from this. So, I could see them going a Donkey Kong spin-off. Not the most exciting thing in the world to me, and this also isn't a lock because they could also just use these Donkey Kong Country characters in Super Mario Brothers 2. They play such a big part in the first movie that they could easily just roll that into the sequel. But I think maybe you kind of just give them their own movie. Let the Super Mario Brothers sequel kind of focus on Yoshi and, of course, the return of Bowser. There's no way Bowser's just going to go away. He's the known Mario villain. And there's some other just traditional Super Mario characters that you can bring into that movie. And then you can kind of expand on the Kongs with a Donkey Kong Country movie, obviously animated. And I would assume Illumination would do that one as well. The next one, Zelda. How do you not do Zelda? And to me, the interesting thing about Zelda is, do you go live action or do you go animated? I honestly think you could do either one with these. I could see an animated Zelda being highly successful. I wouldn't personally know if you would give Illumination a Zelda movie because they have a very humorous style, a very almost slapstick style. They're not exactly known for the deepest plots. And I think Zelda, if you do go animated, you're still going to be targeting a bit of an older audience than you were with Mario. Now, Mario is super fun for both kids and adults, and I'm not saying you have to make Zelda some sort of gritty, hardcore, PG-13 or R-rated film, but clearly Zelda is going to be targeting a little bit older than, what the Mario movie is kind of doing, where that's very much designed as a family film. I assume Zelda is going to want to go a little bit deeper on story, obviously have some crazy action. So I think this one actually is a lock. I think there's almost no chance you don't get a Zelda movie or series of some sort moving forward. But the big question here to me, live action or animated, I think this is an IP that works either way. If it was my choice, I think I would go live action. I think it could be absolutely incredible in live action. There will be some pushback from people saying, if you make Zelda, Link can't talk. You have to be a purist. I disagree with that, just like Mario, right? People were up in arms about Chris Pratt in Mario and that him not having the original voice. And yet, to be honest, it worked great for the movie. Movies don't have to be exactly like the games. Of course, you want them to be faithful, but I think Link talking in a Zelda film, whether that's going to be animated or live action, isn't a big deal at all. And in fact, it's a good thing for general audiences, right? Which is what you need for these movies to make huge sums of money. You have to pull in more than just the gamers. You want to make the hardcore gamers happy, but you also want to find new audiences with it as well. So I would assume Link would talk. I'm assuming he would speak. And live action or animated. I would prefer live action, but I think this one works either way. And the last one that I'm going to bring up here is a bit of a surprise, I think, to some of you, considering I'm a financials guy, and that's Metroid Prime. Now, Metroid Prime would clearly, in my opinion, have the smallest box office of any of these other films I named, right? I think it'd be smaller than Mario 2, smaller than Donkey Kong Country, smaller than Zelda. So you'd have to be very careful with the Metroid Prime budget. But I think one of the things that's going to make Nintendo successful, if they really want to pursue, making more and more movies moving forward, is they're going to need some variety. I don't think you can just make infinite animated movies that all are using Mario characters just over and over and over again for years and years. They're going to have to kind of diversify to bring in different audiences and keep things feeling fresh. And Metroid Prime, you definitely go live action, in my opinion, on this one. No way you make it animated. The only way you make a Metroid animated would, in my opinion, be if it's like a series. And then maybe you could almost do a not like a digital one, but almost like hand-drawn, like almost anime style. That would be very, very cool. But if they're going to go the movie route, I think you make this thing live action. I think you do go for that PG-13. You don't want to go R. I don't think R is going to work for any Nintendo property, if I'm being honest with you. I know some people might be very excited at the idea of an R-rated Metroid, really play up that horror alien aspects. But you could actually get away with quite a lot with PG-13. So I think you make this a PG-13 live action movie. You do play up the scares a bit. You do have it have some of that sci-fi horror feel, but still, okay enough that, not necessarily children could go see it maybe, but at least some younger audience. And you make sure to give this thing not a huge budget. You want it to have a healthy budget, enough to make the Metroids work and make Samus work, but you wouldn't want to go crazy, because just like the Metroid games, I wouldn't expect this to be an absolutely massive hit. I think it would be an okay hit as long as you keep that budget in check. And I think you could get a really strong audience, like hardcore fans on this, just like you do with the game. So I would go ahead and greenlight Metroid Prime. But again, the key to making Metroid work financially, if they're going to do this, is that they need to keep that budget in check. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. Let me know what if you think my ideas are good, or if you have some different other movies in mind, or if Nintendo should just stick to Mario and not do anything else. Hey, you made $1 billion with Mario, just stick there. But I have a feeling that they're not going to. All right, everyone, like the video if you haven't yet. Helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter. I am Benji-Sales. And as always, stay safe, play some games, and I will see you guys next time.